The Supreme Court to upturn Court of Appeal judgment as Pro-Wike Lawmakers Affidavit of Defection binding. Hello viewers and welcome to InfoGist TV. Following the protracted political turmoil rocking Rivers State, an eminent professor of law, a senior advocate of Nigeria, and a United Kingdom's King Counsel, Professor Fidelis Odita, has weighed in on the raging battle for soul of Rivers State. The legal giant, who maintained that no court has the power, authority, or jurisdiction to withhold the monthly financial allocations to a federating unit in Nigeria because the monies in question do not belong to either Governor Similar Ifubara or Nyesom Wike, the two main combatants in the raging war. Odita, who went on to accuse the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory of procuring judgments from courts to battle Governor Fubara, stressing that the judiciary has become blatantly compromised by politicians and are thus dangerously pushing democracy. Odita, in an interview session with Arise TV, said it appears that some judges have allegedly allowed themselves to be influenced by some powerful politicians. He stated, "As soon as you go, we all knew that soon Mr. Wike was going to procure a judgment. I use procure because I do not know. Of course, these cases are argued, and of course, Wike does seem to lose any case, and it's unusual for a person to always win all his cases, whatever the facts are, whatever the legal issues are." Speaking further, the legal luminary also argued that the court cannot stop Rivers State from receiving its federal allocations. According to him, federal allocations are a central tenet of Nigeria's federal system. He argued that halting the funds not only undermines the people of the Rivers State but also creates an alarming precedent that could destabilize the country and undermine federalism. It will be recalled that Justice Joyce Abdul Malik of the Federal High Court in Abuja had last week Wednesday issued an order stopping the Central Bank of Nigeria from further releasing monthly financial allocations to Rivers State government. Justice Abdul Malik held that since January, Rivers State has received and spent allocations based on an illegitimate budget, describing this as unconstitutional aberration. Reacting, Odita said the federal allocations are at the heart of Nigeria's federalism. Rivers State is not simply Governor Fubara or Mr. Wike, it's a federating unit with a constitutional right to these funds. Stopping these funds harms the people of the state. Clearly, the judge did not understand the essence of federalism and had no power. He could not make the order he made because Rivers State cannot be a federating state without being entitled to receiving its share federal allocations. There is a clear distinction between the entitlement of a state to federal allocations and the subsequent appropriation of such funds based on a budget passed by the state assembly. The money cannot be stopped. The money does not belong to Fubara. The money belongs to the people of Rivers State. The New Diplomat reports that Fubara and his predecessor Wike have been locked in a titanic battle for the control of the political structure of the state as well as its economic fortunes. The raging feud between the duo has triggered political turmoil in Rivers State, culminating in conflicting and multiple court orders and polarization of the Rivers State House of Assembly into two diametrically opposed groups, pro-Fubara and pro-Wike. In December 2023, we should recall that Fubara and Wike signed an 8-point plea deal purportedly to address the raging feud. The peace deal was signed at the presidential villa in Abuja after a meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. However, since that development, the crisis in Rivers State has continued unabated with worsening dimension. The crisis in Rivers State, Odita explained, centers on a high-stakes battle for political control between Governor Sim Fubara and his predecessor, now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. This conflict has broader implications as it raises fundamental questions about governance and the rule of law in Nigeria. Odita also pointed out that the dispute is essentially a question of constitutional interpretations. Who should legally govern Rivers State until the next election? This isn't just a political feud, he remarked. It is a question of who holds constitutional authority. He noted the uncertainty about the loyalty of certain lawmakers in the state's House of Assembly, pointing out their alleged defection had further fueled tensions. According to him, the law on defection should be straightforward, as Section 109 sub 1G of the Nigerian Constitution mandates that legislators lose their seats upon changing party allegiance, but the courts have so far been ambiguous, compounding the uncertainties. The lawmakers in question are arguing they did not properly complete the legal process of defection and therefore have not lost their seats. However, Professor Odita firmly rejected this position during an appearance on Arise TV. There is no such thing as a process of defection, he stated unequivocally. It's like saying there's a process of resignation. There isn't. Once you resign, the resignation is self-executing. Odita compared the lawmaker's defection to other automatic legal conditions. It's also similar to lunacy. If you're a lunatic, you're mad. There is no process of lunacy. It's ipso facto, he explained. The senior advocate argued that based on a straightforward reading of the Constitution, the act of defection is instantaneous and irreversible once declared. Section 109 sub 1G of the Constitution is very clear what it has said. Where there is a carpet crossing as supported by sworn affidavit, that should be open and shut. It's very straightforward. There is nothing to interpret. He was equally emphatic, rather, that merely announcing one's defection is sufficient under the law. Once a man says, I defect, or I leave, or I have left, that's the end of it. What it has started. There is nothing to interpret. There is no process of defection. The professor said it was astonishing that the lawmakers who defected are the same ones who secured a court ruling to stop federal allocations to Rivers. He suggested the Federal High Court that issued order was obviously misled on this point. Auditor described the unfolding situation as a theatre of the absurd and a caricature that has led the courts to facilitate on what should be a very clear-cut legal issue regarding the status of defecting legislators. In a controversial decision, the Federal High Court recently ordered the Central Bank of Nigeria to halt monthly federal allocations to Rivers State, citing concerns over the legitimacy of the state assembly's functioning. Professor Auditor criticized this move, stressing that the federal allocations are a central tenet of Nigeria's federal system. He argued that halting the funds not only undermines the people of Rivers State, but also creates an alarming precedent that could destabilize other states. Rivers State Governor Similaye Fubara disclosed that the current political crisis in the state was about control of resources. Fubara, however, assured that his administration will ensure the protection of the state resources. The police command dismissed a rumor that security operatives attached to Fubara had a fracas with some military officers loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. The operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Monday arrested former Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa over the alleged diversions of 1.3 trillion naira. The 1.3 trillion naira reportedly represents the 13% derivation fund from the Federation account between 2015 and 2023. Now, according to sources within the commission, Okowa was at the EFCC office in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, was subsequently detained by officials. One of the sources stated that Okowa was at Port Harcourt office following an invitation from investigators probing the allegations against him. He was then arrested. The commission is investigating him regarding the 1.3 trillion naira 13% derivation fund from the Federation account between 2015 and 2023. He is also accused of failing to account for the funds, as well as another 40 billion naira he allegedly claimed was used to acquire shares in UTM floating liquefied natural gas. He reportedly bought shares worth 40 billion naira in one of the country's major banks, representing an 8% equity stake to support the offshore LNG project. The funds are alleged to have been misappropriated for other purposes. Investigators are also examining the alleged diversion of funds by the former governor to acquire estates in Abuja and Asaba Delta State. He is currently being held at the EFCC facility in Port Harcourt. When contacted, the EFCC spokesperson Dele Onyewale confirmed the arrest but declined further comments on the matter.